Hey everybody, it's Cauliflower Man here. I am bringing you something new today. It is my character rankings for Battleborn. I'm going to try and rank all of the characters. These are my own personal rankings, so you might see that you think one character is stronger than I have ranked. Well, so be it. But I've been playing this game for a long time. I know how to play almost every character very well, so I think these ratings are pretty accurate. And furthermore, I rate each specific attribute of their playstyle so that you can get a real in-depth look on how a character will play. That way you can figure out if it'll fit your playstyle before you even have to play them. So let's go ahead and look at those rankings. The first thing that I have is just at the top left there. I have a composite rank for Alani of a 9. I think Alani is by far one of the best characters in the game. It's really hard to find any faults with her. She's got a lot of different attributes so that she can be good at just about everything. But let's go ahead and look at each one of these attributes in depth. So the first rating that I have for her is her skill floor. Now, for those of you who don't know what a skill floor is, it means when you first play Alani, how good can you expect to be? A low skill floor means you're not going to be very good. A high skill floor means you're going to be very good. So Alani's skill floor is 2. So when you first start playing her, you're going to have trouble and you're going to have to figure it out, but that's just the way it is. But as you can see below, the skill ceiling is 9. The skill ceiling is the opposite of a floor. It's once you have mastered them, how good can you expect to be if you master them fully? And I have that as a 9 because obviously you can do very well as Alani once you have her mastered. Now below the skill ceiling is healing and regen. For this one, obviously, as a healer, Alani does a huge amount of healing. Her regens, she's got 7 health regens, so that doesn't really add much to her rating here. But when you put healing on her geyser and you have her healing from her wellspring, that's her secondary attack. When you add all that up together, a good Alani can easily get over 100,000 healing in one game. You can even get over 150,000 if you're really good. So she can do an incredible amount of healing. Below the healing is attack, and the attack for Alani, a lot of people might say that an 8 is very high. However, this attack is not just for her primary attack, which is her torrents, and it is true that her torrents aren't all that damaging. However, her skills, her Riptide specifically, and her ultimate do a massive amount of damage. So with a good Alani, it's not unheard of to get 150,000 damage in a game. I've even seen some get 200,000 damage. So you can't be getting that much damage in a game unless you rate that attack very high. So I put her attack at an 8. The next attribute is toughness. Now, toughness for me means multiple things. It means how much health you have, so how long is it going to take for somebody to kill you? Do you have a shield? Do you have any skills that will give you extra defense? And the answer for Alani is 1, she doesn't have all that much health. She has no shield, and she has no shield to put up in front of her like a boulder shield rather than just energy shields. So toughness is only a 4. That's really the main weakness with Alani is you can kill an Alani pretty quickly usually because it doesn't take a whole lot of damage. So that's one of her major weaknesses. But with a good Alani you can really mitigate that weakness. So I didn't really take her overall composite rating down very much because of this low toughness. The next attribute is movement. Alani is one of the fastest characters in the game. You get that 30% movement speed at full osmosis stacks, and then her Riptide gives her haste, which is just a movement boost. So she's one of the fastest characters in the game, so I give her a 9. She's not only a healer, but she's a flanking healer. It's really great to play her that way. Below the movement is Battleborn damage. This specifically is talking about damage to Battleborn, so that's other enemy players. Battleborn damage I have at 6 because her skills aren't ideal for using against Battleborn. The only one that's really good for Battleborn is her ultimate, which you can stick on someone. Otherwise, it's very situational whether or not you're going to get a lot of damage to the enemy player. And then finally, for this category here, I have minion damage. For her minion damage, I have it at an 8 because her Riptide and her ultimate are specifically designed to do quite a bit of damage to minions. However, her primary attack doesn't do a huge amount of damage to minions, so you can't really give her a 9 or a 10 just because of the weakness of her primary attack. So now if we go on the right side, this is less general stuff and this is more skill based, so I want to rank her skills and tell you how good each one of her, not only her skills, but her primary attack, her secondary attack, and everything everything like that. So first off is her primary attack. Alani's primary attack is not all that great. Its main use is to fill up torrent stacks so you can get the healing. So I only put a 5 at it, or a 5 on it. Also, it's a little bit slow. It's a projectile, so it's not a hit scan weapon. So you have to lead it, so you have to be good with it. So her primary attack is only a 5. Her secondary attack, then I have at a 7. Her secondary attack is not an attack. It's actually a heal. It's one of the best in game. However, you can't give it a full 10 because you have to fill up her torrent stacks until you will be able to get a good heal. So if you try healing without maxing out your stacks, you're not really going to heal much at all. So for her secondary attack, I give it a 7. Below that is her geyser. The geyser is a great skill. There's so much going on with it. You use it to heal all your allies. That alone would give it just a 6 if that was its only attribute. But not only can you heal your allies and your minion wave, you can also stun enemies by knocking them up into the air. Battleborn players like to call it bubbling them. The bubble is a great way to put a lot of damage on an enemy, or if they're following you, you throw down a geyser at your feet and they'll run over the top of it and you'll be able to get away. So her geyser I would have to rank at an 8. It's one of the best skills in the game. The Riptide below that I also rank it at an 8, and a lot of people might say that might be a little high. However, there's so much going on with Riptide once you've mastered Alani that it's one of the best skills. The first thing with Riptide is if you use it on an enemy, you'll push that enemy backwards slightly. So if someone's right in your face, use Riptide, give yourself a little bit of room. That's pretty good. That's not the best attribute of it. The next attribute of Riptide is its damage. Once you hit level 4 and put 54 damage per second on Riptide, you can get a couple hundred damage on anyone who is in the Riptide, so this will add up to be quite a bit. If you use a Riptide on a minion wave, you can get thousands of damage with one Riptide, and that's just amazing. And then finally, Riptide also hastens your allies. So let's say you have an ally who's really weak and he's got somebody following him. Use Riptide on your ally. Not only will you push back the enemy that is trying to follow your ally, but you'll make your ally faster, and so they'll be able to get away. Whereas if you weren't using Riptide, they would be close enough to the enemy that they'd die. So Riptide, I have to give it an 8. That's just the way it is. It does a lot of damage. It does a lot of help through the haste, and it also pushes enemies back. A lot of people will say Riptide should be lower, but that's just because they're using it wrong. Below Riptide is her ultimate, Emergence. Now, Emergence is one of the best ults in the game as far as area of effect damage, and its entire area of effect, just area, it's really huge. The thing about Emergence is it's kind of easy to avoid for Battleborn. However, you can't avoid it as minions, and you can stick it to enemy Battleborn. So if you stick it to the enemy, then they can't get away from it, and that's just the way it is. So Emergence, I also have it as an 8. Below Emergence, and this is not exactly her ability or skill. This is just another one of her attributes that we can rank. This is early gameplay as Alani. Alani is only a 6 when you start out. She doesn't really start taking off until level 3 when she gets her movement speed, and then level 4 she'll get damage on her Riptide, and then level 5 she unlocks her ultimate. She'll really take off. But once you hit like level 8 or 9 or 10, Alani's really hard to stop, but early game she's only a 6. She's not all that great. Late game Alani, however, I have as a 10. I feel like as Alani, if the game gets late, I'm never going to lose. That's not always true, but I never feel like I'm in a bad position with Alani. I know as long as the game keeps going on, I'll keep getting stronger. So late game Alani, have to give her a 10. And then finally is Discipline. Discipline, this speaks mostly for how much you have to pay attention to what you're doing, and how much you have to keep from making mistakes. With an Alani, the main mistakes you'll make are twofold. One, you'll push too far, and the enemy team will stun you, or they'll cut you off from your team, so you have to watch out for that. But Alani's fast enough that you don't have to be super disciplined about it. But the main thing you have to be disciplined about is healing your team and making sure that when you fight enemies, a lot of times you're fighting them not to do damage but to gain stacks so that you'll be able to heal your team. So discipline, I put her at a 7. You've got to do a little bit of thinking as an Alani. But anyways, that's my ranking for Alani. Let me know in the comments if you think it's anything different. But personally, I think Alani is one of the strongest characters in game.